case anybody's wondering. So anyway, I do certified business valuations, and I have the pleasure of moderating this panel every month. And I'm going to say this also at the very end. We're going to be moving this panel to the third Friday in September, and then we're going to move to a permanent position to the third Monday in October. So we're going to be doing a little bit of changes, but we'll be sending out other information, and we'll keep everybody updated on some of those dates. And also in the chat, I have my website. So if you would like to be on the newsletter so that we can keep you up to date on everything, please go to my website, and at the very bottom, you can add your name to my newsletter, and we'll add you there. And I will come out with a newsletter much faster. I went on vacation at the end of last month, and I got kind of behind. So the newsletter didn't go out till yesterday. But I will be saying that sooner. Yeah.
You're human? No way.
I know it.
Oh,
that was just for one day. It's not coming back. All right. It's not going to happen at all. Okay. So let me tell you about this fabulous panel that I have here today. I'm so excited about everybody because we have some new people here today. We have Rocky Clark here. And Rocky Clark, he is did you want to introduce yourself?
Either way, I mean, you'll make me sound better. So.
I have known Rocky. How long have we known each other?
Oh gosh, do we do it in decades?
Oh no, I'm 28.
Okay. Well, then it's only 2 decades.
you met middle school?
That's right. Yes, that's right. Just the other day.
Yeah, but I've known you for
your whole life, apparently.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We've known each other for a really long time.
You're there in a birth. You're in the room, high five and tag. Like,
You've always been adorable. Always been adorable, Jana. Thank you so much.
Okay, so if you want to know anything about risk management, this is the guy that you want to talk to. He's also an investor. He is always looking at other businesses as well, but he is a wealth of information. I love working with Rocky, and as you could tell, he doesn't have much of a sense of humor, as does our other analyst here, Andy O'Brien, Mr. Serious.
yes, totally serious.
O'Brien.
Yeah, just by, what his title is. I love it. Chief Energy Officer. It's because he likes to bounce off walls. And I was telling Rocky about that ahead of time. I said, just be careful. And he does bounce off walls. And he goes, does it padded so he doesn't hurt himself?
The first one in the early days were.
I just assumed it was related to natural gas, but I'm an energy officer, me. So
No,
my mistake. I'm not very
I'm
stupid.
the poster child for Ritalin of 1974.
He's with Action Coach, and he's a consultant. And then next to me is Kelly Meredith. And I'm so excited by having her too, because she's also new here today. And I was looking, you need a better title.
I'm a co-owner.
I know you're a co-owner, but like we have Chief Energy Officer. We need to, Andy, that's your next job. We have to have some exciting.
He's in HR. Yeah. I'm the wrong person to ask.
I'm technically not in HR. I'm an HR adjacent. I'm the one that helps you find the right people.
Yep.
Oh, that's
the
right.
traditional methods failed.
Got it.
So
I'm the one they send to DEI
I'm a professional
training.
stalker.
Yeah.
Oh, that's your new title. Legalized stalker.
So if you're ever in a company and you need somebody and you cannot find somebody to work with you, this is the woman to come talk to. She is amazing. She is just absolutely fabulous. And then, of course, we always have Bill Thompson, who doesn't get to talk much, as we were talking earlier, that I seem to always talk for him. Bill, did you want to talk now or forever hold your peace?
Too risky to go up there and talk.
Okay.
There's nothing you don't think about me.
So let's get started. Because we have a really good topic here today. I'm really excited about this topic because it's one of those topics that a lot of people don't want to talk about. I was telling somebody earlier this morning when I was at another meeting that I had someone talk with, I was doing a business plan development class, and I had someone come in and talk to them about competitive analysis. And the first thing that came out of his mouth was, it's unethical. Thank you. Thank you for that reaction. It is a priority. It is a must. If you have a business, you need to know what your competition is doing, right? I love that. I just killed the energy in the room when I said that.
Help us.
No, I'm trying to, I'm checking all my words.
I know, it's just like, there's.
I just short circuited.
I know. Yeah, a competitor analysis is very important. So let's talk about the reasons all that is important. So, Andy, why is competitive analysis important when you're talking with your clients?
So it's important on multiple levels, but as a consumer and a person who owns a business, my job above all else is to know what our strengths are and how we play against all the competitors. In the marketplace, you can't go anywhere in a group and not throw a baseball and meet somebody who says, I have this job, but I am a coach. I do this job and I'm an executive coach. Well, we understand that. We do this 365, 24/7. That's one of the greatest selling features that we have against them, that we use against them, because well, they have to have a job. That's not their full-time job. Sorry, I talk with my hands, people.
That's great. Yeah.
But from a buying standpoint, let's talk about it. One of our foremost roles when we help clients is to understand how to build their business up so it's a sellable asset. As a sellable asset, you must know everything about your competitors, everything. And this is probably the greatest analogy there is. How many of you are familiar with McDonald's? Okay.
The fast food restaurant?
Yeah, nobody knows anything about it. They've never been around. But the thing about McDonald's was today's business model is different than their business model when they started. When they started, it was hamburgers and fries. Today, their model as the corporate entity is a leasing and land company. Their secondary business is franchising. And that's public knowledge. Go look at the NASDAQ, look at their records. You can see all of it. But they know everything there is to know about all of their fast food restaurants, right? Wendy's, Burger King, Freddy's, Culver's. They know all of these things. And they set up their franchise in order to compete against them. For you as a business owner and for us looking at a business, if they don't know anything about their competitors, they're literally living under a rock. It's unacceptable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why 75% of businesses don't sell today.
Right. And sometimes we're talking about competitors. We say you just have to be somewhat different. I mean, that's why I do my nails, right? Everybody talks about my nails, about how they're always different all the time. That's what makes me a little bit different. When we talked about that last month, and I found out my glasses, I can't ever wear anything other than green glasses. So Kelly, when you're going out, you're trying to find talent for companies. Right. Do you look at the app, also look at their competition?
Absolutely. It's imperative. You have to do a full market map of what's going on in the market with the competitors, because it's not just knowing who the competitor is. When you're talking to candidates, they're going to give you the information about your competitors, what you need to know. So you have to understand what the salary you're going against, the benefits, the company culture, the opportunities. Is there any kind of growth potential that those companies? You have to know what those are, so you know how to then adjust your business. Because if you're just saying, oh, we're status quo and we're going to offer this, well, you're losing candidates daily because this company has a better culture. They have a better learning program. They may not pay as well, but their employees are happier, so they're not going to stay at your facility. They're going to leave. So if you don't know your competitor, you're losing candidates.
Risk management. What about risk management in terms of working with a company?
It's a 24/7 process. It has to be ingrained into everything that an organization does, just like marketing has to be ingrained everything that an organization does. And the average business owner, especially when we're talking small business owners, they're just so busy worried about keeping the lights on, right? They're going along, they're picking up the pennies and then the nickels and the dimes and the quarters and the dollars and the 20s, and then smack, the truck hits them because they crossed the street, and they weren't managing any risk whatsoever as they had their head, to the grindstone. And so analyzing those risks is just as fundamental as trying to make that next sale. And small businesses don't have the same resources, the same experience that they have to pull on to be able to identify those risks. But there's a lot of things that are going to exist in our digital world, not looking at your environment, not having a proactive digital plan. Cybersecurity. A lot of people think, well, when we get bigger, we'll worry about cybersecurity. When we get more data, we're going to worry about protecting our data. When we get more, and it's, from day one, you start protecting it. you're talking about knowing your competition, right? So so that's one of the things that I work with is cybersecurity in dealing with risks. And so talk about knowing your competition. So there is a SharePoint, you guys may have seen this. There's a SharePoint bug. And this is a fairly recent thing that has been exploited. And of course, SharePoint, part of Microsoft, huge company. So that's where everybody looks, right? Easy money. And so there's an entry point there for universities, government agencies, just a backdoor open, and several hundred organizations have been tapped into. And if you're not looking for those risks ahead of time and blocking them, what do you do after the fact? You get caught off guard. And then PRC, China also had a recent attack that was successful. And it's just it's just how they do business. So whether you think that's right or wrong or real or not, you can look it up and see the facts. But they're checking out their competition. They're seeing what we can do. They're testing our communication infrastructures. They're testing our systems. And it's a known fact. The government doesn't release it publicly, but you can go look it up here. I've got the press release for it, or the release for it in agency. They're testing our stuff. They're looking at what can the Americans do? What can we do? And so if you're not looking at your risks in your business, your competitors are just going to take you out of so small businesses often overlook the fact that you have to monitor those risks. And then you have things like your reputation, supply chains. A lot of times you get started with a connection. Okay, I can sell this at a bargain because I know this person. What happens when something happens to that person? So looking at those vulnerabilities is important.
So Bill, what kind of resources do you talk to with small business owners when they come into you about how to analyze their competition?
I'm working with one right now that in their service area, they have 25-mile service area, the 34 competitors. And I've mapped those out for them. And then talk to them about they need to go and learn those competitors. I don't have the bandwidth to go on, but they need to go on their websites, find out what those competitors are doing, find out what their strengths are, find out what the weaknesses are. The other thing about this is it's always changing. Like marketing is always changing. The competitors are always changing. So it's something you just don't do one time and forget. You just have to keep looking at it over and over again.
So Kelly, how can companies use talent searches to help them improve their business? I think you highlighted that in your answer in the previous one, but can you elaborate on that?
So, when you're doing a search, honestly, this is the prime time to collect that market intel. Companies come to us when they're looking, not just because they're looking for someone. They may not know what they don't know, right? So they need this market intel. So they're going to be looking for what the other companies are paying their employees, what kind of company, what's their employer brand, what's the employee value proposition to work at your company versus this company, what kind of benefits are they offering in your market in this position. So when people have an open role, we're not only looking at the company that we're helping, we're looking at companies that are also hiring that same job. What are they doing? Why are people going to this company versus the small business? And why would they want to come to your company if you don't offer, not that you want to emulate exactly what someone else is doing. You don't want to adopt everything that they're doing, but you want to adapt to what they're doing and make it better. So you can then bring in that talent and then leapfrog forward by bringing this adaptive talent in to then boost who you are as a company so you can be more competitive.
And you were bringing up in your answer before, you were talking a little bit about kind of the threats, but think more about, could you expand on that, but think about it in terms of opportunities. The competitive analysis does not just necessarily have to be threats. I mean, we've talked, Rocky was talking about threats. And I want to tell everybody, again, anybody that on our panel brings something up, we will collect information of that and we'll email that out to Jane afterwards so that we can email that information out to everybody that's here today. So how can we look at this as in terms of opportunities for our businesses?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, when we look at those things, it has to lead to an exchange of revenue to profit. When we look at a company, we look at those competitive analysis with the owners. We want it to relate to something. When you see it, when you have an opportunity in your business, which let's say you talked about not emulating others, but there are things that some businesses do that others don't. And I saw the question up here about Chick-fil-A. That's a great example of a company that took all the flaws that they saw. Dan Cathy, the son, saw the flaws and they capitalized on it. Same thing we do. When we work with a business owner, we're looking at buying a business. First thing we're trying to see is how do we capitalize and get a return on investment? When we work with a client, how do they get a return on investment? And that leads to profit, not revenue. You guys have heard me talk about that. Revenue is fine. That's a great vanity statement, but it's all about how do they get more profit in their business. So if they see a weakness, then how do we build a marketing system around it? And when I say system, I mean, what's the process? And then how do we build the processes within your organization to make sure that you can have max utilization of whatever you're selling, whether it's a service, whether it's a product, so that your business can capitalize on it. There is nothing worse in the marketplace when a company comes in and they go, oh my God, Meredith has a problem. I'm going to sell against that problem, but I don't have the infrastructure, the systems, or the processes, and I'm just selling a bag of, bones and nothing else. And then I don't know why it didn't work. That's my favorite. Like, well, I don't know. Did we plan for it? It goes to your conversation. Risk management is a plan. It's not just a hope and a prayer. I mean, don't get me wrong. I believe in faith, but you have to have a plan.
All right. Thank you for bringing that up, because that was my next question for Rocky. So you were talking about these different ones, SharePoint and PRC, and about some of the different risks with towards your business. How can small businesses, is there like a roadmap? Is there a dashboard of something that they should consider when they're trying to look at risks in terms of the competition? Is there like a system or a method that you can recommend?
So something that's just automatic and turnkey when it comes to risk management for an entire business? No, because businesses are different, right? What what your business is doing, what's your widget, those things are going to vary. But you do have some things that are always going to be there. You've got your risk of people. You depend on one person. There's just one architect for your software, and that's it, right? They decide to walk. We're
a key employee, right?
That's right, exactly. Yeah, key employee. So, and a lot of times business owners, especially with their small business or when they're new, they'll think, well, I'll just go buy insurance for that risk. I'll go buy insurance in case somebody falls at my bakery. I'll go buy insurance on all of my computers and my equipment, those kind of things. But that's a large expense, and it's kind of like spinning the roulette wheel. It's like, well, as long as the ball lands on 00, you're a winner, right? But you've lost a lot of the time. So instead of just investing a lot of money in insurance, it's better to really understand what those risks are for your given business. And when you're looking at competitors, you should be looking at what are they doing. Yes, you want to differentiate yourself, but in differentiating yourself, are you also dealing with some of the things that are problems in that industry, like serving hot coffee that gets spilled on people because you saved a couple cents on your cups and your lids, right? That's never going to pay off.
Does that really? I can't imagine that ever happening.
I'm not so
Just a minute.
Yeah, you better.
It's not happening here.
I am a risk
Drop my
manager. Yeah, that's not going anywhere, man. Sorry, don't go on. You or me, dude. I don't want to have to clean my beard. I was trying to touch it earlier, Andy. I swear, man.
Well, my granddaughter be like, let me pull it out.
So as far as a plan goes, looking at different sections, what is the financial risk? What is the people risk? What is the product risk? Breaking that down, and then what is the cyber risk? Cyber is something where you can get a managed MSP. They can monitor it for you 24/7. And so ironically, some of the biggest risks that people have is in cybersecurity. And that's one of the ones there's a way to have someone else do that for you and monitor it 24/7 and have that taken care of. But yet, because the average person isn't dealing in that world, they just read the headlines. Oh, our government got hacked. Well, what can I possibly do? Well, you could protect your own bottom line, even if Uncle Sam isn't protecting his, right? So having a plan for that, whether that's through a managed provider or somebody who's monitoring that for you, that's actually one of the ones that you can directly address. And there are very affordable options that small businesses can use. So even if you can't afford your own, tech department, you can hire your own tech department. And that's where we see a lot of business now is people are downsizing those departments and they're getting rid of their 100 tech people to 20 tech people. And then you've got Jim and he's the only guy left and he's the only one there and he's supposed to manage all of this. So
Yeah.
So that's a solution now. So, we got that as a solution, but looking at the people, the money, and the product, looking at those risks so that you can proactively plan for that. But a turnkey thing, I think the turnkey part is that you build it into your daily operations. And then you have to come back and look at that. As you said, it's not a one-time shot, right? I mean, looking at your overall long-term strategy, sure, do that once a year. But you've got to be looking at, every week, what's happening within the business that's working, not working. Well, they keep losing fingers on the factory floor. You don't wait until the year-end analysis to decide to change that, right? You need to, sorry.
I want to put a gate on that.
You're doing something wrong. Just using it.
I think the first finger should be a sign.
It should be.
It should be a sign.
I would like to add to that if I could. So what he just said is so critically, and it kind of ties to what you do.
Yeah.
We get called in after the fact,
Mhm.
and we've had 2 clients that somebody cybersecurity broke into their system, held their information for ransom. It cost their insurance. I mean, the insurance, I don't know if one was $500,000. And we started having this conversation and the owners were all pissed off because, somebody did this. But what they failed to recognize was $500,000 could have paid for, they could have paid for 2 people. They could have paid for a leverage company to do all of that forever.
Yes, sir.
And they're like, no, I couldn't. And I'm a math guy. Let's put it on the wall. I may not be able to spell, but I can do math. They need to talk. They need to start looking at this logically because when they lay those numbers out, they're like, oh, we got too much overhead. We're fat. Oh, we don't need those 50 people. We got 20. That should be good enough. Well, then they lose millions of dollars and then they blame everybody but themselves because it's like, that's what the people are for. You have to do the math. What is the risk to a human being if somebody's watching that 24/7? It's unqualitative. You can't do the math, but they can do the math when it's like, well, we're fat. We got to cut 60,000 or 100,000.
Yeah, but you're talking a cost of less than $50 a person,
Yes.
less than 40, right? I mean, the price points are so low, and you're like, what are you paying for the phones and the cars and
Exactly.
the new whatever? It's so when you're thinking about the security things, how many times have you guys had somebody check your doors at night on your car or your house? They were locked and moved on. How many times has that happened?
It just happened the other night, and they broke into our garage, and we were gone. And
Okay.
So yeah.
So how many times has it happened and we don't know?
Right.
But when you do have somebody break in, then you want to go what? Buy a security system. So if you just had your doors locked ahead of time, you may not know all the people that aren't getting in. But that's the way to proactively.
Okay, so Rocky, we should probably talked earlier because I flew home, and I'm like, Jody, what did the camera say? Oh, I turned them off because the alarms were annoying me when I was in the hospital with my mom. So, so there's that.
Essentially, a risk management protocol system you're lacking in. I suggest you talk to your staff.
I am the staff.
Yeah.
So is his wife.
Yeah.
She is in charge. I am not. But yeah, so sorry. Yeah, what was that all? I'm sitting there with the police department. I'm like, we're getting the cameras right now. I'll let you read this. You've read it. Oh, the cameras were off. Now they're on.
Oh, gosh.
So there it is. Yeah. So yes, our staff, our process was hosed.
Yeah. But having those protocols,
User error. Yeah.
they're not hard. You just have to do it, and then you have to hold your people's feet to the fire, including
Oh, totally me.
yourself.
Or
Yeah,
just
yeah.
having, or just, instead of you're looking at the numbers and you're cutting the numbers, you said you're cutting the numbers, the amount of people that you have. Okay, so we're looking at that. So instead of cutting all these numbers, why aren't we looking at people who we have? Who are the people who can do this without having to cut all of the numbers? Let's cut the numbers that, yes, make sense. If your company is bad or whatever, you have to cut something, but cut what makes sense. Don't cut the stuff that's working. Don't cut the stuff that makes sense, or the people who can adapt or help you stay competitive in your market.
Sometimes it's a tool. So thinking construction, I've got 10 laborers and we're not making enough money. So we're going to cut 5 of our laborers and we're going to make more money now. No, how about if you cut one labor and buy powered hammers for everybody else? You give them the right tools, you can compensate for that.
Train them to use
Yep,
them.
and security's the same way. Maybe you cut 1 or 2 people, but then you get those managed tools for cyber and for risk protocols for everybody else. It's just about leveraging those resources.
And I think that's the best word for it, leverage.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in a smaller business, they want to be the expert in everything they do. They want to be the CEO and the finance guy and the IT
all the
guy
hats.
and the HR guy. And our job is to, okay, which job do you not want? Actually, my second question is which job are you the worst at?
Yep.
Well, I'm good at all
No, they're not.
No.
of them. Or not. You remember you said you were really worried
Oh.
about this? I think she fits in fine.
Yeah, you're doing fine.
But that's the part of it. They start looking at from his job, his role is one of the most critical jobs in a business because he's not looking at the floor. He's looking at miles and miles ahead of all the things that happen. And many of the business owners that are on this call, including myself a long time ago, is we're so busy in the mud, we can't see his job because his job is so far out in front, we can't
Right.
even fathom that that's real.
And many small businesses won't survive a hack.
Oh, not even remotely close.
Yeah.
And it's always like I tell people, oh, what are your finances like? Is your checkbook balanced?
Oh, what's a checkbook? I don't have a checkbook. What?
Is that on Audible? Is that a book?
The bank statement.
Yeah.
Have you looked at it? Yes. So they go, I still have money in the bank.
There-
There's my statement. And it's like, but have you looked lately? Or anything that's outstanding or yeah. No, I actually had that happen one time. A student got arrested. She was a marketing student. And I asked her about it because she missed class. And I said, well, how come you missed class? She goes, well, I got arrested for bouncing checks. And she goes, and I don't know why it happened. I still had checks. She actually said that. She actually said that. And she this young lady was brilliant. I mean, she met someone, she remembered their name forever, and so, yeah, I mean, there's some things that we assume are common sense. And we're talking about some of these now here today. But if you have never heard them before, or no one's ever told you about those tools before, then it doesn't make common sense. And so I think that what's so valuable about this panel here today is that we're bringing awareness to all these people here, that they can start thinking about these things because they may not have thought about. And Bill, elaborate more about if they get hacked, that they're going to go out of business. Could you elaborate? Because I think that was a very important point that we cannot ignore at this point.
Yeah.
Well, if
You also let you talk.
Yes, I want everybody to take a note. What time is it?
Did she let you know what you're
Yes.
supposed to say?
She's got a note under the
Yes.
table.
forgot my computer, it's on there.
It's 10:02 on August 8th, and I let Bill talk.
Anyway, well, it's kind of obvious. I mean, if they're ransoming your all your data and you can't operate, if they got your system shut down, everything's on the system, you can't operate, and you don't have the money to go in and at that point to come in and fix it. I mean, you got to pay the ransom or walk, and many of the probably 80% of the people I see, they'd have to walk. So it's a critical point.
Well, they're working on a shoebox, right? I mean, on a shoebox, the shoestring budget, right?
That's so well said.
Yeah.
The shoebox is for their receipts for the account.
I had that happen.
If they keep them.
I had an audit, SBA audit I did a long time ago in undergraduate school, and literally the guy had his receipts in a shoebox and wanted his wife to do his counting, and he couldn't make his SBA payment, and it was really sad.
And even after they walk, they can still get sued.
Right, that's exactly
So
right.
now you have no
Bring it back to-
business,
That's
no
exactly
cash
right.
flow. And then even if you do pay and get it back, what's that do to your reputation? Because risk to reputation is you can pay to fix machines, you can hire new people. Not so easy to fix it right.
But you get confidential information in a hack,
That's right.
your client, every one of our clients can sue you.
And they will today.
Yeah.
They will today. It's
People are too happy.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's some of my best friends are attorneys and they buy drinks. Sorry, that's just how they roll.
Yeah, I like flavored water. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, that's exactly what they're buying. Yeah. It's
The
a
bubbly
tan,
water.
it's a tan color, goes with it.
It has a foam at the top.
Yeah,
That's only if the gas is off on that.
yes, yes.
We know about 70% of all the attorneys on the planet,
Oh, yeah.
and 90% of the lawsuits are brought here. There's a reason for that. Some of our international partners like discuss how legitimate are you, and then we talk about that. And they're like, maybe we're not quite as ready as we say. Can't afford to mess up here.
All right, so all right, from all of you, from your own standpoint, it seems like the next step that we really need to be talking about here, and I know this is not on the notes, I'm so sorry, but
Phil,
Rocky, sit down. You're not going anywhere. Since you already established that I must be a little older than 28. Okay, what advice do you get? Where can people go to get help? I mean, because right now we're saying you need to do this, you need to do that, but we can't do it alone. We need to have help. So how would each of you give a suggestion of where someone can go to get help? So Rocky, is it an insurance agent? I mean, is that a good place to start? I mean, I don't know.
Absolutely.
So that's an easy place to start. If you've got nothing, no other clue, looking at what insurance options are out there, but is not an answer to all. And in too many small businesses, I want to open a bakery. Well, I've got to have location insurance in order to get the permit, in order to open up my shop. So I'm going to go buy some location insurance. And my loan says that I have to have insurance on this. And so they buy, and so that's reactive risk management, where you're having to, like, buying insurance on your house because the mortgage company says you have to, or car insurance because the state says you have to have that or you get a ticket, right? That's reactive. It's not the end all, and it shouldn't be, because most things that are really gonna happen, insurance companies know the stats, right? That's a for-profit company. Everybody knows that. People think they're like, I thought they just wanted to help me. I'm like, go to your church.
And we're back to that. Just a minute.
Sorry, it's true. So that is not the answer to everything. So that's a fine place to start when you're trying to get the business flowing. But if you think that because you bought insurance, you've now covered your risk, absolutely, just put your head in the ground and talk to the ostrich that's in there with you, because that is not big boy, big girl business planning.
So what do you suggest to people when they need to have help?
Okay, so if they don't, literally in startup phase, most people are bootstrapped. They don't have a fund or a printing press. Here's what I tell everybody. Go find, not your friends, go find 5 people and ask them to be an advisory board for you. Find somebody who's in finance, find somebody who's in insurance, find somebody who's in law, find a CPA, find somebody who's in business, and surround yourself with them, and know they're going to piss you off because they will challenge the fiber of your being. That's where I tell them to start. Find those people, HR professionals, because the challenge that all of us face, including all of us in the room, I'll speak for Andy, when I look in the mirror, I see superheroitis. I think I have it all under control. But the fact I think all of us have seen, and I know you and I have talked about this, I'm 56 years old. I still don't know everything. And I go and find experts who can help me learn for the next phase. When you are a startup or you're in a business that's under $1 million, your challenges are going to be different than a company that's already doing $1 million. You have to go find people that are in that boat. So surround yourself with good people, start there. And if you don't like what they have to say, you're in the right spot.
Kelly, we'll come to you next, maybe, Bill.
You might have a better answer than I. I work with small businesses, right? So I talk to people who they're like, hey, we need to hire somebody. So okay, great. You're having this person you need to hire. Well, have you talked about all the risk that that comes along with it. Have you already done your analysis? Have you already done the research on what brings a person in? It's not just their salary and their benefits and their, you have.
Or your brother-in-law, sister-in-law, your,
Who's a dog walker?
So
yeah.
they obviously can do your accounting, right? So,
Exactly, yes.
Having some,
Cybersecurity.
cybersecurity, yeah, for sure. Like you want me to do it, right? You really don't want me to do any of your cybersecurity. But if you're making those plans, you have to make those plans in advance. You have to have that succession plan. What happens if you do hire and it's a bad hire? What if you have all these? You have to know all of these things before you go. So, like you said, you have to surround yourself with people who know more than you do. If you're the one that knows the most in the room, you're in the wrong room.
I love that. Make that, put on a sticker and put it on your computer, guys. If you're, yeah. Bill, what were you gonna say? Oh, I did come to you. I want everybody to know.
No, actually, what Andy's point was, is we see all the time that somebody will have the skills to start a business, scale that business. They do not have the skills. They do not.
Good point.
And when you have a business owner on this floor at 9 o'clock in the morning filling orders, there's really a problem with that. We recently got a grant and put together a class in cybersecurity. I took it. It was like eating dirt. But it was great information. I'll go take the test someday because I haven't taken the test yet, but I took the whole class. But it really gives them the nuts and bolts of it. And that's the University of Texas, San Antonio, SBDC. It's not us, but there is a class for cybersecurity. The other thing is when I'm meeting with somebody the first time, no matter what their budget is, I tell them you're really going to need an insurance agent, you're going to need a CPA, bookkeeper, and you're going to need an attorney. If you're doing any type of contract, better have an attorney. If there's not a line item for an attorney, you may be in trouble. You may want to go to University of Texas free law service or something like that, but they need to have those three things for their protection. Go ahead, go.
Can I ask him a question? Please,
Yes.
please.
Do I have to answer it?
Yes.
Oh.
So to all the people out there that are gonna go, well, I have Chat GTP. Why can't I just use?
Oh, good question. Good question. Good question.
Hold your horses. I know where you.
And then you
I'm
get to
I'm
answer
gonna back
second.
away from the explosion that's coming.
Where do you start? I love
Like this.
First of all, I love Chat VGT and Perplexity with Claude and
Mhm.
Gemini and whatever the other ones are.
Meta,
Siri,
Siri,
Alexa.
Lindy.
But man, I tell you what, when I use it for research. But man, I am looking for the sources. I want to know what the source is that's putting that information out, because I've got to make sure that it matches. But it will not stand up in a court of law.
Yes, thank you. Did everybody hear that? Because I want to go to his answer now, which I have a feeling we're all gonna love.
Go.
Okay, you're on.
Oh, I'm sorry, what was the question?
Why
This is a serious
ChatGPT or any of the AI programs are not your accountant, not your attorney? What is happening with that?
That is Cliff Notes for cheating. You're going online and using AI, and AI only, it doesn't have some kind of like all-knowing access to something that's not available out there. It's artificial intelligence, and that doesn't mean like they dyed their hair blonde. It means, I mean, sorry, brown. Sorry, I'm biased. So all it does is go search for stuff that you could have searched and then summarize it for you. So literally you're taking like all the questionable stuff and then running it through another filter then makes it even more questionable. So there's nothing, I mean, I think it creates more work, because then you have to go to every one of those different things that you got and then try and validate those. If I had just been able to have a clean search and look specifically for what I'm trying to find, then I can narrow it down to, okay, this is what these attorneys have written. And then I can narrow it down and I have a place to go back to, and I can call those attorneys or whoever wrote those articles about accounting or cybersecurity or whatever it is. And I can contact them because there's actually somebody involved and I can get the real deal versus a summary of a summary of a summary of a summary.
It will make stuff up.
Yeah, so
Oh, yeah.
hallucinate. But the thing is, there's always human oversight with AI, and there's a reason why you always need to have human oversight. But the reason you go and you get a CPA, a lawyer, or whatever, because they have experience. They have that gut feeling. They've met with people, they've met with businesses, they have that experience of working with people in this area, with this culture, in this type of business or whatever. So they have that AI.
Can I say something?
Well, no.
It's important when you're looking for a CPA, an attorney, and an accountant, and or insurance agent, is to interview for the personality, to make sure the personality is a good fit.
Yes.
Just because they have a law degree does not mean it's going to be good personality.
Well, and just because they have a law degree doesn't necessarily know they know the law.
Yeah, they might have been the last of the class.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I got
You got a discount coupon you used, your burn rate low, may not really be such a good.
So a lawyer on
deal.
Groupon's not a good idea.
I'm not saying but I'm not saying it is either.
Was it my husband's dad was a medical doctor, and they said, do you know what the guy that graduates last in his class from medical school is called?
The doctor.
Yes. So just because they have a degree does not necessarily mean that they are great at it. So yes, very important to interview. So we have a question. I put this up. So if anybody wanted to address this? So the question is, in case anybody can't see it, are there any updates on how smart cities will integrate legacy systems and strategic collaborations, begin evaluating forecasted changes that begin to take shape, and the new reports introduce updated information for the 90th legislation? Does anybody have an answer to that, or do we need to go to ChatGPT?
Yeah, we should Google that.
We should probably Google that.
I'm not sure. By the way, the human oversight you mentioned on AI, I just want to make sure people understand. That doesn't mean that the AI information you got was overseen by a human. And you're the human oversight. I just want to make sure you get that. Wait, you're the human that has to check it. So if you don't even know what it is that you were researching, how are you even going to check what you got as an answer?
And
But I do want to throw a wrench in here.
Okay.
Not legal, not for a legal perspective, not from a accounting or finance perspective. Yes, please fact check all that. That is smart business 101. But when you were talking about competitive advantage, and I'm kind of circling back to real quick, but when you are looking at people who you're going to bring in to your company, they're going to look up and research you and your company. And that AI perspective is what people are seeing about your brand, your competitive advantage. That's what they see. So if you are doing your research on and doing it correctly and getting the right information out there, your information is also going to be on AI, which may or may not be good. Just something just to throw about AI.
I think that's a really good point, that when you're doing your competitor analysis, you need to be looking internally as well. So if you're doing this research on your competitors, what research is being done on your company, and seeing what other people are doing and monitoring that and making sure that you're keeping aware of what's going on.
Are you actually doing the fact checking of what's actually happening in the legal interactions that you're doing in your financials? Are they actually accurate when they're getting sent out there? Because now someone's going to be researching you, not just you researching them.
That's true. And that digital image is huge.
Yeah, and here's a great question that we always ponder, that we got asked when AI first came out, and it's so fun as we do it now. But the question is we'll go into chat or whatever AI tool you're using, and I ask it this: of all the things you know about Andy O'Brien and his business, what is it I yet need to learn about my business?
Oh, great. That's a great prompt.
It is a great prompt, and it changes as your digital image, as your marketing, as your team grows, and it's evolving. And it's well, first off, the first time you ask it and it doesn't have any information, you're not going to like the answer. At least I didn't, but it really helps me move forward in the process. And for any of those that are on this call, or you all that are lifelong learners, it's just another area that we can go look in the mirror and go, man, look what I have to do today. Yeah, what do I need to read?
Self-reflection, yeah. And I think self-reflection is a very important part. And you were talking earlier about people who are always putting the blame on their employees or whatever. And that's a part of emotional maturity, right? And if they can't self-reflect and see what their role is in it, and I think I got to keep watching on the time. All right, we're good on time. So another thing I want to bring up, at the very beginning, Andy, you brought up standard operating procedures.
Yeah.
And how important they are. I'd like to really emphasize that point as we're getting closer to the end. Having those procedures in place, having your team help them come up with it, and enforcing it. Can we address that?
Well, just having them, a lot of times small business owners get overwhelmed by that. They're like, I have these protocols. You know, the McDonald's you mentioned earlier, you know, you get that owner's manual. I don't know what it looks like, but right, but it's overwhelming. Just start with something.
Yeah.
Each thing you have to do, like you've got to eat in the morning. You got to have your coffee in the morning. You probably should do your stretches in the morning. And if you don't do them for a while, it hurts. Just like checking your digital presence, just like checking your competition. The more often you do it, easier it is to do it. It's not as painful. So starting with just simple steps, logging in and having a step of, okay, how do I log in? I pull these things up. How do I make sure that my digital security is running? I make sure that my phone lines are working. I make sure that I have an answering machine that answers. I make sure my prompts go where the prompts are supposed to go.
Answering machines, do they still have those?
Well, somebody answers your calls, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I do.
Me.
Bill.
I yeah. I don't have a bill, and I can't take all my calls. So somebody will go to me. But just start simple. Have something simple. If it's just simple one-word steps, just start with that. Don't let the fact that you don't have the perfect manual for everything for your business to succeed. That's not where you start. Just start with simple one-word steps, and then you just build it as you realize there's not enough information, because you should start to plug people in. And Kelly, this relates to what you do. I think it's too often small businesses are like, okay, you know, Andy can handle my accounting because he has a calculator. And what we do is we take the square job need and we slip it over the round peg of a person that we already have access to. When in fact, what we should be doing is taking that square need and finding a square peg that will then properly complete that mission. And business owners starting off do it the other way around. They try to just make it work.
They try to create a Swiss Army knife.
That's right. But when you start filling people in, the actual square peg that you need to do that square whole job, you're going to realize, oh, they don't just know everything you know. So those short protocols aren't enough. Then you elaborate them. That's how it gets fleshed out and filled in. And then you get the big boy, big girl business, SOPs. But start with something simple and small, as if you are stepping into your role, whatever that is in your own business, as if you don't know what you're doing today. What would you need to do?
That's a critical point.
Just start with writing that down. Don't do anything unless you have it written down. You're like, well, I need to do this. Nope, it's not written down. Well, then you better write it down, because that should be an SOP.
That's a critical point as far as having your system set up and your SOPs before you bring the person in. Also, and this is to your bailiwick, as far as it's not, they need to know the task, but you can teach a task pretty easily. But if they don't have the personality, if they're not teachable, if they're not a good fit for your company, good value to the company,
Culture.
you really need to be looking at all those.
Absolutely.
So what do you do when we're talking about all this type of stuff? So how elaborate on that?
So you guys are all hitting, you guys can do my job right here, but no,
Yeah, we can do that. We're all square pegs.
all square peg. No.
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 Same thing. Not just
Yeah.
1954.
So ultimately, you're right. You have to create, when you are going to have someone, you're going to bring them in, you've got to have, okay, what is it that we do here? We've got to know what it is. We've got to be able to have measurable accountability of what this is going to happen, what's going to, how's this position going to progress? What are we going to need for this position? So you're looking at not only like, yes, you need this person who's going to be able to fit this square peg. So you have a very critical hire up front. Well, you can't just bring in, your brother, your sister-in-law. Maybe they're great at it. Fantastic. Well, do they have the skills? Do you need to train them first before they go to this area?
Can you fire them when they mess up?
Can you let them go?
Somebody wrote a book like that.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to do my research. Cap GPT.
Andy O'Brien, what books has he written?
But understanding what that career path, really having that critical detail already in line of what you're looking for, how you're going to progress, what culture are you bringing into if you're having a pivotal position that you need to put in in your company, when you have a certain company culture that you're wanting to create, that person better have that culture, better have that personality, because people don't necessarily, again, they're not leaving your jobs and your company because, they don't like doing the work. They don't like this person. They don't like the culture.
Bingo.
They don't want to be in a company that is moving in a direction that's, it's not like having someone who, think about energy. I wonder
Here
why.
it comes, buckle up.
You don't want necessarily to have someone that's exactly like the rest of your team in there as well, because you
That's
need
right.
someone that can help elevate and adapt and adopt and also continue to create your environment.
Think differently.
Think differently. Now,
Yeah.
you don't want it so different though,
Not
that
conflicted.
it's conflicted. Good confrontation is good, but it's how you strategize and use that conflict to move forward is the person that you need in that job. So you have to have people who understand, just like middle management, right? People, they support their executives, they support and do leadership coaching for their senior staff, and they bring people in and they support them here. But this middle management, they're like, yeah, go. But they don't tell them how to coach up or coach down. They just leave them there, and they wonder why this middle management is struggling to stay in their business, or why they're leaving, or why they're disgruntled. It's all about having that succession planning and have adaptability and accountability of what this position looks like down the road.
So Annie, I gotta ask, tell us about this book.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's
What a great book. I've read it.
No. Well, and I laugh about that a lot. Like you just said it, and I wanted to see yell ditto when he said
Yeah.
this. KISS theory. Keep it simple, stupid. Just write it down. Start with what you know, and then we can talk about unconscious, competence, and then we can build off it. But just write it down. I am a firm believer in family business. We have one. I wrote an entire book about it. However, to your point, don't hire your brother's sister's cousin that was a dog walker to be a middle manager. If you can't fire, if you can't have difficult conversations with your son, daughter, wife, brother, father, don't do it. Because it's never as simple as, well, Rocky and I are friends. Rocky and I are going to work together. Great. Tell me, what are the standards Rocky has so we know that we can measure him against? Well, what do you mean standards? He's a good guy. He does this. Stop. Standards.
He's gonna do it. Oh,
I know. Everybody tells me that right up until, well, God, he doesn't do his job. Well,
What is his
I
job?
feel like I'm not going to get to go to Thanksgiving.
there's that too. But that's why we talk about it when you're building an organization and you talk about the simple steps. And I don't care if you're a mom and pop shop or not, but just because I'm a really good cook doesn't mean I'm a good business partner. Just because, and to your point, when every Sunday dinner, anniversary, birthday, Christmas, Easter, whatever holiday you celebrate turns into a board meeting, you have a massive issue in your business.
I like it. You also have another statement, and then I have to wrap it up. But I remember one time you said, if I treat whenever you hear, my employees are family, I treat them like family. And that they're not your family.
They're not. And being now that I came on a family business, we coach 90% family businesses. And now I work with my son and my wife, where I went from being in charge to where I thought I was in charge, but I've never been in charge. So I'm like 8th in charge now. I would I catch myself all the time, honey, I'll say something like, I have to catch myself in front of the employees. Tanner has gotten really good at it. He doesn't call us mom and dad. He calls us by our first name.
He does that. He's very good.
Yeah,
at that.
because Tanner's running our business now. Like, he is the CEO. And taking myself out of that and my ego out of that made a massive change in our business. Not to say that I still don't own 50% of the business, but for most of us on this call, being an employee of the business 29 days a month is a killer. They can't, I own the business. I can make decisions today. that messes up the business. So yeah, they're not your family. They're your colleagues. They can be friends, but the challenge is this, you've seen it, that invisible gray line that's like 10 miles thick and 100 miles long. We all float through it, saying things, risk management, human resource violations. I mean, it is a massive headache when you have to be like, no, we're employees and we're colleagues and I'm your boss.
It's a lot easier to just not deal with that. The benefits of like knowing my brother-in-law's cousin's dog walker, I assure you, the benefits of that are grossly outweighed by the complicated relationships that come with that. Because every employee is like when I see employees, I see like this nice sailboat that I don't get because I have them, or this nice condo in the mountains that I don't get because I have them, because that's a trade-off, right? And so that employee needs to replace that much value in my business. And if it's a
Love
family
that.
member or something, it's really
Oh,
hard.
and the jealousy.
It's really hard to discount.
So all right, first of all, let me thank my panel that you guys have been awesome here today. I just wish we could have had a little bit more fun, had a little bit more energy. So, but yeah.
We'll work on her for next.
So
I'm not even authorized to look her directly in the eyes because it's an HR thing.
there was a question about smart cities. We really don't have an answer for smart cities right now. I think it was an excellent question.
Yeah.
But that is beyond the scope of what this panel is doing. We're really looking at small businesses and helping people who are actually operating small businesses rather than looking at such a high level view. But thank you for the question. Thank you so much. We've got one more advice for someone who is aware of pending litigation that is designated to reform the organization. Previously committed candidates are now deemed ineligible. Again, that's a political statement, and I think it's beyond the scope of our panel discussion. But if you would ever like to have that discussion with any of us, you will have that contact information. You're more than welcome to contact us.
Finding autocorrect.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you everyone for being with us here today. We really appreciate you. Again, if you would like to be on the future email, the newsletter list, please go to my website, menifeellc.com. Thank you again to Rocky Clark, Andy O'Brien,
Thank you.
Kelly Meredith, and Bill Thompson.
Voluntold.
Yeah. Bill Thompson. And I'm
We'll
Shannon
be here.
Murphy. And thank you again, everybody, for being here. Thank you for staying with us during this whole hour. We really appreciate it. And again, next month, third Friday, September's third Friday, October will be third Monday. And we'll stay on the third Monday going forward then. So thank you, everybody, for being here today. We really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you.